Welcome to The Big Idea, the podcast by InkSoft to help you grow your shop and rock your sales. And now your host, Marshall Atkinson.
Hey everyone, it's Marshall Atkinson with InkSoft, and I'd like to welcome you to our podcast, The Big Idea. This is the industry-focused show where we target the ideas and concepts that will help you run your decorated apparel business better. I'm very happy to have my friend and former employer, Jay Berman with Visual Impressions on the show. Today we'll talk about contract printing and also running multiple shops in different cities, as Visual has production plants in both Milwaukee and St. Louis. But before we get into that, here at InkSoft, I want to mention the online stores platform that has revolutionized the way shops make money through programs like spirit stores, company stores, and fundraising stores. It's the absolute easiest way to increase your sales and expand your business online. We'll show you how it works. Come learn more at inksoft.com/stores, and we'll get you set up with a personal tour. So Jay, welcome to The Big Idea. How are you today?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. So before we get into some questions, why don't you just talk about Visual Impressions a little bit and your shop and how you guys got started?
So basically, we're a contract screen printer specializing in working for promotional companies and marketing companies. And we got started about 29 years ago. Small little shop in a garage, wanting to do our own personal line of t-shirts. We thought that we'd become the next Bum Equipment one day. As we struggled through that, we realized that we needed to start to generate some sort of a cash flow for our business. So we took a step backwards. We headed into the contract world, thinking that we would just start to get a volume of work moving through our shop and a cash flow, and then we would go back and do kind of what our dream or passion was, which was to create our own line of shirts. And then one thing led to another. One automatic became two automatics, became four, became multiple buildings moving, and before we knew it, we were never looking back. And we just committed ourselves to the contract industry, over the last 29 years. So it's been very good to us. That's where we're at today. Todd is my business partner and my brother-in-law, and we started the business together. Well, actually, he started the business, and then I joined him about a year later. So working with family has its, I know everybody warns you about taking on, working with family and being partners. For us, it works out really well. We have a mutual respect for each other. We trust each other's judgment. And as you know, we both do very different things and are good at different things. And we're willing to step aside and let the other person do what they're best at. As well as the fact that we've had a long time kind of handshake agreement that if one of us feels really strongly about something, that's the way we're going to go. That just seems to work for us. So I wouldn't trade Todd for anybody. He's a great partner to have.
So talk briefly about the volume and scale of your Milwaukee location and also what you're doing in St. Louis.
So Milwaukee is 100,000 square feet, 15 automatics, 4 manual presses, 3 digital machines, and 165 heads of embroidery. And we're running those 2 shifts. Second shift is a little bit more scaled down. Embroidery runs full capacity. Screen printing runs about 30% capacity. And we're just always looking to grow that shift. We're just having some employee issues at this, finding good people. So the business is there. We just don't have the personnel to run it. And then St. Louis, which is 3 years old now, coming up on 4, is in about 20,000 square feet, 4 automatics, 2 manuals, and then looking to add embroidery, hopefully in the next 6 to 9 months. And again, doing all contract work down there as well.
Cool. So Jay, I know one of the things that I know from experience from working for you is that you guys work really hard and have a great company culture in your business. Can you talk about what that means and how that affects everything that you do?
I guess culture became really important to us. As we grew, we get around year 10, 12, we realized that all of a sudden we were an actual company. We weren't just a couple of guys screen printing in our garage anymore. And so we made a real effort to try to keep what we call a family atmosphere around the building, kind of going back to the days when it was just 3 or 4 of us and we would order Chinese food together and sit and work late and do whatever we had to do. So, basically around here, we always recognize employees' anniversaries. We celebrate birthdays. We do summer barbecues almost every Friday if we can for the employees. Just really trying to keep the atmosphere a little bit light around here and more family driven. So as you know, those people out on the shop floor are working extremely hard under hot conditions normally, and every little thing that we can do to make them more comfortable here, we just feel is really important. Todd always says that you spend half your waking hours at work, so you might as well make it a nice place to be on a regular basis. That culture comes across to all of our customers as well. I get a lot of compliments from customers who working with customer service or picking shirts up in the back or dropping things off or standing with a printer for an hour at a press, which really, makes me happy. I think that the people here are very accommodating and appreciative of our customers. So it goes a long way.
Yeah, one of the things when I worked there, I was just really shocked, but I don't know if shocked is the right word, but I was very surprised at how many really super nice people that you had working there. I mean, they're just generally just awesome people and they're fun to be around, and some of them are just hilarious, and I think that really helps having great people around you and not really tolerating jerks. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. Yeah, I agree. That's why we like to take our best people like Derek, as you know, and have them do a majority of our training with people on press. So they're with a light, fun, person who enjoys being here every day. And I think it kind of sets the tone for that employee moving forward.
Yeah. You guys run a big shops and you have 2 facilities. Again, one in Milwaukee and another in St. Louis. I know a lot of shops that struggle just to get enough business to operate one single shop. So can you give everyone a little insight into why you wanted to open that second location? Because I think a lot of people just struggle with one. So how does that force multiplier up 2 work when you're ramping up sales for both?
Yeah, I guess I'm not the smartest guy in the industry for getting into 2 shops, but essentially what had happened was Todd and I had a discussion a few years back, and someone was looking to acquire us, and we decided not to go that route. And so we sat down and kind of had a meeting of the minds and thought, what do we want to do at this point in our career? Do we want to push and continue to grow, as we get older? Do we want to just kind of ride this thing out? Or, where do we head from here? Are we selling? Are we staying? Are we growing? And so I think we both decided that we were at the point in our lives where our kids were getting a little bit older and we were ready to make another big push. And Todd has always had a dream, as we talked about, of being one-day ground all over the country to all of our promotional companies. Because a lot of big promotional orders are being printed, that are for customers in our region are being printed out on the West Coast because of freight considerations. So we had this idea. We tried to build a network of printers years ago, which really never panned out because this is an industry of printers that don't trust each other. So no one was willing to share their orders with other people in fear of losing customers. So the opportunity arose with one of our employees who was leaving for St. Louis, who we really trusted and helped run the floor. And we just decided that, we'd dip our toe in the water, I guess, before we started looking at opening multiple facilities at once, that we would see if we could run 2 facilities and how it would go and what would happen. And we would offer our customers, our general Midwest company customers, this zone skip. If you take a look at the one-day ground from St. Louis versus Milwaukee, it's amazing the amount of large cities that you touch one day. So we took we originally planned on taking some of our older equipment and moving it down there and setting up this shop. Then we realized that we didn't want Kyle, who runs it down there, to be burdened with older equipment and machine problems, that he was going to have enough on his hands just running a shop by himself down there. So we bought all new equipment down there. opened up a facility. We moved some of our Midwest customers, out of Iowa and Missouri and Minnesota into that facility. So we'd have an immediate workflow going through there, and found a good administrative salesperson, and off we went, and just started running that facility as well. I think that the zone skip model really isn't what's attracting people to that facility. I don't see a lot of our customers looking for that zone skip like we thought that they would. But a lot of customers are using that facility when we get backed up or are busy, and they're pushing goods down that way. A couple customers that send a lot of stuff to Las Vegas, so they're printing out of that facility just to be one day quicker there, and off we went. So it's been a good run so far. It's 4 years in, and we're purchased a new building last year, and we're looking to continually expand, within the same market that we're in here, which would be servicing promotional companies.
So from a macro view, are you having your customer service reps decide which facility is producing an order, or is it you already have that slated by just how that one particular customer is set up?
It's really slated by customer because our customers are contract. They're sending us the blanks. So by the time we get a purchase order, 9 times out of 10 blanks are already on the way. So it's not like we can stop that order and say, hey, we'd like to print this in a different facility. For the customers that are calling to get quotes or looking for opportunities or finding out if we can do something, then we'll look to see if there's an opportunity for them, in whichever facility works out best for them at that time. But what we do is both facilities are run kind of as one entity. So all the accounting is still done in Milwaukee. We file share so that if goods go to the wrong location for some reason, vendors oftentimes ship things to Milwaukee just because they know us, even though it's supposed to go to St. Louis. We can quickly, adjust on the fly and then print in Milwaukee and never bother the customer with whatever's going on. And
you use ShopWorks for everything, right?
We do. We're a long-time ShopWorks user.
Right. And are you? I know when I worked there, you had a couple customer service reps who actually worked on different parts of the United States, one on each coast. Are you still doing that?
We are. I was very worried about that, if people could actually do customer service remotely. I think I'm just kind of maybe a little older, one of the older guys in the industry now, so I was a little bit skeptical of how that would work. But yeah, we still do have all of our purchasing is all done remotely by someone who lives in Nebraska. We have a customer service person who is our oldest and most well-trained, who moved out to Connecticut and is still working there. We had one in LA that was working, who recently has moved on. So we just have the two, but it seems to work out really well. And I think they're less distracted outside of the building, so they seem to get a higher volume of work done on a regular basis.
And don't you think it's kind of amazing at this day with technology and communication that you can have employees that you don't actually ever see every day, that they're just doing their job and they're really great at it?
Yeah, I think it's just crazy that it works out that way. When Mary first decided to work remotely, which is our first employee doing it, we literally locked her in a room out, and said, you have to stay in here and do your whole job and see if you can actually function. And there is a little bit of running around. There's times when she calls somebody here and is like, I need you to run back to receiving and, check something out for me, or there's always these little crises, but that's like anything else. And I just think it does seem to work out better. And like I said, the volume that they put out seems to be much higher. And sometimes people, they put in extra hours at night or whatever, just however it makes them comfortable. So we're all for it at this point.
That's great. That's great. You guys are a very well-known contract decorator in the promotional distributor space. So let's talk contract versus retail just for business. What is your take on the difference between the two, and why Visual has had so much success with going just contract?
Well, I think they're very different animals. And years ago, early in our career, we brought in a consultant who spent a week with us and sat us down at the end of the week and basically said, you guys are going to go out of business. You have to sell finished goods. You have to be purchasing goods, getting the margin on them. Every time your press turns, instead of it being 35 cents, it's going to be $1.25 or whatever the number might be. And, we left a little bit shook, what are we doing? Did we do this all backwards? Where are we at? And I think that the contract model, just once we committed to it, and, there's really no going back as far as I'm concerned. You can do a little bit of both, but if you're going to grow and become a major player in the contract world, you cannot go direct. You're cutting off the arms that feed you. So then it's just a matter of relationships and service, right? Because you're only as good as your last order. So it's a matter of proofing things correctly and receiving them correctly and knowing where the goods are in your building and getting them out the door on time and the right way and owning up to your own mistakes, and fixing whatever mistakes that you make, no matter how painful that might be, from a contract standpoint. So the retail has always been interesting to us. I mean, sometimes I look back and think, God, I'm working so hard. We're a big animal to feed. It takes a lot of shirts to run through this place on a regular basis to keep, 130 people employed. And I wonder if it just would have been easier the other way. But at the same time, we don't have any inventory, which is nice, and we don't have to have any salespeople to manage. So it has its benefits, versus the retail side as well.
So let's take that notion of salespeople and let's pull that apart a little bit. And because I think that if most people out there listening just heard that, they went, what? No salespeople? So how do you guys do that? Because I think that's going to be very interesting to a lot of people.
So as we grew, as you know, contract is a high volume, low margin business. So it's very difficult to pay a salesperson a commission on a contract order and still be competitive. And Todd and I, we experimented with a salesperson, and it continually came back to the fact that they had found somebody that they could sell direct, where they could make some real money. And we kept saying, you can't do that. We cannot go sell Harley Davidson because they're in town. Every one of our customers sells Harley. So we cut that back, and we decided that Todd and I would just be the salespeople, and that we would utilize what we felt at the time was our strongest asset in the building, which was our art department. And so we always gave away artwork and presentations, and if whatever our customers needed from a development standpoint, we would do that work for free. And we would use we literally expensed our employees in the art department as a sales tool. And so then we just felt that this is a business of not acquiring customers, but of developing relationships. And Todd and I worked and still do work very hard at staying in touch with our customers on a regular basis personally and doing everything we can to develop that relationship. And so I think one of our biggest attributes was we, as you know, and we've probably argued about this in the past, is we don't really charge rush charges to our customers. And we basically use that opportunity that when they need us to develop and build our relationship with them, as opposed to kind of kicking them when they're down or when they really need us the most. And I think that's gone a long way towards building a really solid foundation of customers. Now, if you're the customer that goes to the well every week with a rush order, then we start to learn who you are. And of course, we do charge some rush orders, but in general, I think it's a rule that we really try not to do.
Mm-hmm. You don't really have to name names on your customers, but talk about the relationship that you've built with some of these folks over the years and how long they've been doing. And there's a story I think, if I could get you to tell, which is how you bought, the one I'm talking about is how you bought your first auto. I think everybody would love to hear that.
Yeah, so I'm not going to name names because there's a national account involved that I don't want to talk about. But essentially, Todd and I began running around town looking for contract work. And we started going to all the promotional companies around town, and there's a couple of really large ones in Milwaukee. And the person that was in charge of purchasing at the time basically kept pushing us off, saying, call me when you get an automatic. Call me when you get an automatic. We'll give you business then. So Todd and I lurked at each other and said, we need to buy an automatic. And Todd was just like, we don't have enough business for an automatic. What are we going to do with this thing? And I'm like, I don't know, but it just seems like everybody is telling us to get an automatic. So we scrounged up enough money to purchase our first automatic, and we went back to this customer. And we sat down at a meeting and said, here's a picture, here's our new automatic. time to give us business. And I'll never forget the blank stare that we got back from this guy. And he was like, "Are you guys crazy? Like, did you really go out and buy an automatic?" And we were like, "Yes, you told us if we bought an automatic, you'd give us work, right?" And he was like, "Well, I was just trying to get you out of my office." And we're like, "Well, we're in a bind here now, so we need your help. Like, we'll back up whoever it is, give us a shot." And that's what ended up happening. They gave us 1 order, 2 orders. We started turning. Didn't have a lot of work. We were turning orders much faster than our current vendor. We apparently were much easier to work with because we were just so hungry all the time, and the business just rolled itself right over to us over the course of like 6-9 months, and we had all of the business. Bought another automatic, and to this day, they're still one of our largest, one of our top 5 customers.
And what year was that, Jay?
That was, I'm terrible with years and names, you know that. So
don't want to make you feel old.
87, 88, somewhere in there, I guess, right? No, 97.
That's my favorite story of yours.
Yeah, it was crazy. When he looked at us and was like, "Are you guys out of your minds?" We were like, "I guess," but we were just naive. We really thought that was the ticket.
Right. Well, sometimes you got to take a leap of faith and jump off the cliff and grow the wings on the way down, Right. This next question, I've had the advantage of actually working for you. So I just really want to talk to people. I know we talked about it briefly earlier, but, some of your crew have been with you for over 20 years. What do you think that keeps them around and engaged in their work?
It's a great question. Sometimes I wonder, knowing how hard that work can be out there, year after year after year. But I have employees that have been here. I have 2 employees actually here before I was. Todd started the business a year before I was, so they were there before me. And I have about 3 or 4 printers out on the floor and embroiderers that have been just about as long as I have, from the very first day. I think that it goes kind of back to the whole discussion we had earlier about culture. I think that we do our very best to treat everybody with respect, and not just as an employee. We're very active in people's lives if they're willing to let us in. If they don't want to, we totally understand that. But, we've been to a lot of our employees' weddings and brisses and anniversaries and all those types of things. So it kind of goes back to the whole family atmosphere. I think that we pay a very fair wage. We're probably pay the highest wages in our market, for what we do. So that also helps us a lot. And I guess it's probably growth opportunities as well. We do our very best to promote from within. And so if you take a look at most of the assistants and production managers and people that are running departments, they're all longtime employees here. So I think people do see opportunity. There's plenty of people that have started literally as, in shipping and receiving, or just receiving goods, or just counting, who are, now running departments.
That's awesome. Time machine. All right, Jay, so if you could go back in time and start the whole thing over with Todd, what do you think you would do differently, knowing about everything that you understand about this business now?
That's a great question. Assuming that we were going to follow the same course of a plan, that we would be a contract decorator, I would definitely take a look back. I think I would learn from my mistakes. And Todd always says to me, "Don't tell people this story," or whatever. "Don't say that out loud." But you've heard it regularly from me. And I always say, I grew this business making every mistake in the book. Right? I wasn't trained in this business. We started it from scratch in our garage, basically, a lot of trial and error, and we literally made every mistake possible, and we, hopefully corrected them along the way. So I think what I would have done first is Todd and I brought a consultant in every 5 years or so just to take a look at our business and see what we're doing and get somebody's fresh ideas, good or bad. I think I would have done that more regularly early on. I would have employed experts in the industry like yourself to come in, take a look at what I have. And like I say, like when I hired you, I said, "We're 90% there, Marshall. We just need someone to turn a few screws for us." And that's what I think I would look for someone to do. I would have started turning those screws earlier and looking to adopt production sequences and procedures and methodologies earlier on in our career. We went through a huge growth spurt about 5 years in, and things were just kind of, the wheels were coming off. We didn't know what to do with the amount of orders that we had. We couldn't process them properly. We were printing orders on time and sticking them in a pickup area instead of UPS, and just making these silly mistakes that if we would have put procedures in earlier, I think we could have avoided. So we had kind of taken 2 steps back so we could keep moving forward then. Secondly, I would have started investing in automation a lot earlier in my career. As you know, Todd and I have been pretty early adapters of a lot of equipment that's come out to the market, whether it was digital technology, screen reclamation, direct-to-screen items, passports, whatever it might be. But I think it took us 10, 12, 15 years to get to that point where we really started to see the value in investing back in our company in automation from a quality standpoint, as well as production speeds, as well as, reducing our labor costs. So that probably would have been, I said it secondly, but it probably been the most important thing for us. I would have definitely started a recycling program earlier in our career. You taught us that, actually. What I thought was, okay, you want to be green, go ahead and be green, actually became somewhat of a profit center for us, which was shocking to me. So I definitely would highly recommend joining SGP and becoming a green shop, 1, for the environment, and 2, for the financial rewards that brings.
So let's talk about SGP real quick, because, that's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah, I
know. SGP program, you've been recertified twice now, and once after I've left. So congratulations on that. That's awesome. Talk about that real quick, about what it means to your business, but also from your customer standpoint, what they see and how that kind of aligns with maybe some programs or something they're doing.
Right. So like I said, off the bat, really wasn't that important to me. It was much more important to you and Todd. So I just kind of went with it under that philosophy. If it was really important to one of us, we would definitely go that route. So I think what SGP has done for us, I think it has differentiated us from our competitors. And being is that I don't know what the number is anymore. I know when we joined, we were, I think, the first or second textile screen printer in SGP. And I don't know if there's 6 or 12 of them now, or I really don't know how many are out there. But I think it definitely makes a statement as to who we are and what's important to us. And it's a great story to tell. We have a little pamphlet that we put out on SGP and what it does. We give that to all of our customers, and they go out and sell this green supply chain, that they're using, which to a lot of larger companies is really important. Normally, Dave's accounting service and Bob's garage, these guys don't really care so much about that. When you start dealing with major Fortune 500 companies, their supply chain becomes extremely important to them from a diversity standpoint and recycling standpoint. So in that regard, I think it definitely gives us a leg up, or gives our customers a leg up in landing some of these large accounts.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks. So, all right. So here's the point of the show, Jay, where I just kind of turn the floor over to you so you can talk about visual for a minute, or you can ask me a question, or whatever's on your mind. So what have you got for us today?
Yeah, that's even a better question. I don't think I have a lot. I don't know if there's a lot that we talk all the time, so there's really nothing at this point that I need. I guess if I was looking, to talk to other screen printers, I would just recommend that they do their very best to get as involved as possible in the industry. And I was always, as you know, a very secluded person. I always said I just want to be a screen printer in the woods out here, and do my job. And I'm not looking for golden squeegees, and I'm not looking to, do a touring circuit of what we do. I just want to come to work, make some money, go home, be with my kids and my wife. But I think over the last 5 years, or actually since you've been here, or we're here, it's become a lot more, my role, if there is a role, or, in the industry, has become more important to me. And I'm really enjoying being a part of different Facebook groups and sharing information and learning from other shops. I learned a couple of really great little tools just this week. And it's funny, I posted a question last night, just a simple question like, how do people print reflective inks on dark garments? Like, what's your method, right? Because some people struggle. Does it really reflect whatever happens? Someone had kind of written back to me personally saying, why are you asking this? Like, since I'm one of the larger facilities in the group, right? Like, and I just thought, well, you never know who does it better, right? So we probably got, 4, 5, 6, 7 different answers. And then we're going to go to press and decide what's the best way now. We have our method, but I think I'm going to try what is somebody else's method to see if it works. So I think that's important, getting to shows, meeting the people in the industry, meeting other manufacturers, opening up your minds to different, aspects and avenues of what's going on. We're just about to delve very heavily into the digital world, from digital transfers. As we do more and more expensive polyester goods, we're going to look to move away from screen printing those and doing transfers for that work. So I just think it's really important to stay, really connected and involved in your industry. I think this industry especially makes it really easy. If you head out to Long Beach, there's tremendous opportunities to meet other people in the business, to make connections, to, sit down and have a drink with somebody after the show or for breakfast or whatever you're going to do to network yourself within this industry, because you never know who's going to call. And, I'm now doing an extremely large job on a 3-year contract for someone that I literally just met at a booth in a show with you, and kind of kept cards. We did some work for him over the years here and there, and he landed an enormous program and ended up pushing, a good chunk of it to our facility. So I think that that's really how things have changed for me within the industry. As I get older, I do find that I like sharing, my knowledge or what we've learned and the mistakes that we've made with other people.
Well, for someone who didn't have a lot to say,
yeah.
Lot.
Well, once you get me started, it's hard to stop me.
And we're not even drinking scotch.
Right. I'm on the tequila now.
So, oh, are you? Okay. So I've always been a mind that, if you had any success in this industry, it's important to send the elevator back down a little bit, and we're always learning, and to me, I learn stuff all the time, and anybody who tells you they know it all is just full of crap. There's so much to this industry, and it's so constantly changing. Sometimes it's almost hard to keep up.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Right.
But that's why I think the shows are important, and utilizing, your sales reps. We rely very heavily, have for years, on our salespeople at Midwest to bring us new products and teach us how to use them and explore, our methodologies out on the floor. So I'm never ashamed to bring somebody in, have them watch what we do, and tell me if there's a better way.
Right. Well, thanks, Jay. Well, that wraps up our show today. It was always fun to chat with you, and I love just having you on the show. It just makes me happy. So thanks. So
yeah, me too.
How can a listener contact you if they want to learn more about what you do and maybe how you can help them?
Yeah, so that'd be great. So my email is jay@visualimp.com, or you can reach me on my phone line at 414-354-9190, which is our direct line. Or you can always text me or call me on my cell phone, which is probably the best place to get a hold of me if you want to talk, which is 414-839-7886.
Awesome. So don't forget, for more information about the new InkSoft Core, which has a new production manager tool, it's a great back-end for your shop to run your production and make your shop easier than ever before. You can learn more at inksoft.com/core. You can always contact me at marshall@marshallatkinson.com. I always love hearing from you guys, so keep those comments coming. Thanks, everyone. It's been a fun show, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, Marshall.
Thanks for listening to the Big Idea Podcast. For more information on how to grow your shop and rock your sales, go to inksoft.com.